That escalated quickly. What an afternoon hailstorm. I know, that's my face too. Smashed cars, flooded streets, a mall so wrecked it's had to close, and damage to so many homes. You'll see, though, that the glass marijuana pipe was spared, so Colorado will rebuild. And next we'll move on to the day's other news, right after we give this powerful storm its due.
So we're supposed to talk about every city and town that got a little piece of this storm so that nobody feels left out, but I'm just going to go and say it. Lakewood and Golden, you win this round, hands down. And by win, I mean you ended up with the worst of the hail and the worst of the flooding. That's a live picture from the parking lot at Colorado Mills Mall, where a lot of the cars are in pretty sorry shape, and inside the mall, it's worse. The mall is closed down right now. There's heavy flooding inside, roof damage as well. Our cameras are not being allowed in at this point. Lakewood police tell us the building is structurally safe, but they have no idea when the damage will be cleaned up so that it can reopen. You really have to feel for all the Cubs fans in Colorado, you know, who patiently waited aboard the Cubs bandwagon since last October for a chance to see their team play at Coors Field. And you also have to feel for the Cubs players. They went 18 innings against the Yankees last night / this morning, lost, got on a plane, and then landed just in time to witness some kind of biblical curse raining from the heavens. Rockies game is still on and on time for tonight because our grounds crew is that good.
It's a Monday in May, and Colorado should be dealing with rain, but no, hail, funnel clouds, damaging wind, and now flooding. I'm meteorologist Kathy Sabin. We're under a severe thunderstorm watch. No surprise there until 8 o'clock, and more rain coming into the city after a day with 1 to 3 inch diameter hail. More storms coming up from the southwest, tracking slowly to the north. Severe thunderstorm warnings will be reinstated for areas that have already seen so much rain. There is flash flooding in Greeley, 2 to 3 feet of water running down the roadways there. Travel not advised. Out on the plains, brief funnel clouds spotted now by some of our spotters on the ground there, and more moisture coming up from the southwest. The culprit, a broad area of low pressure spinning in the southwest, bringing so much moisture up from the south that we are going to do this all over again tomorrow. And then there's that frontal boundary to the north. All of the activity really anchored there. But as Kyle mentioned, Wheat Ridge, the big winter areas in the northern and western suburbs, 1 to 2 inch diameter hail. Storm Prediction Center has us in the risk for severe weather tonight and again tomorrow. And coming up, I'll have much more on which areas could be looking for trouble later on this evening.
Kathy, thanks. All right, where are my fellow procrastinators at? I see you, Colorado legislators. Wednesday's the final day of the legislative session, and there are still some key bills that remain in limbo. But you know, at least a top Republican and a top Democrat can agree on their top 2 priorities as they head down the home stretch.
The School Finance Act, Senate Bill 296.
The School Finance Act
Basically authorizes the allocation of that money to the 178 school districts. And so for it not to pass is really not an option.
How do we make sure that we equitably provide funding to all kids, regardless of the type of school that they go to? And there have been some disagreements on what that policy should be.
All right, sounds like they're going to work that one out. What's next?
Senate Bill 267.
Rural Sustainability Act, or the hospital provider fee.
The famous hospital provider fee bill.
The hospital provider fee has been a product of hours and hours of negotiating.
It has gone through the sausage grinder for pretty much the last 2 or 3 months.
They could just go back and forth the entire time, but this could use some explanation. The hospital provider fee is one way hospitals get funded in Colorado. To make sure rural hospitals don't lose funding, legislators tweaked how the fee is collected and moved the money to a different piggy bank. It'll also result in some money to help cover some of CDOT's billion-dollar needs. And, by the way, it will also raise the state's retail pot tax from 10 to 15%. A package deal that also looks like it's headed for late passage. All hail the procrastinators!
Here's where our Republican and our Democrat differ. Grantham, the Republican, wants funding for the state's energy office to hinge on whether it's willing to promote coal, gas, and nuclear. Garnett, the Democrat, says that they need to clean up the plan so that unaffiliated voters can vote in party primaries next year. All of us should be so fortunate as to be personally insulted one day by the North Korean government, because the translations are hilarious. Republican Senator Cory Gardner recently called Kim Jong-un a whack job and a crazed maniac. North Korea fired back, calling our senator a psychopath and human dirt, saying that he, quote, has lost basic judgment and body hair. Crazy and hairless. Politics is a tough business. The story of the Trump piñata at a high school in Weld County just lit up the internet over the weekend. Threats caused the Roosevelt High School in Johnstown to be closed down today. As we learned today, though, that piñata had two sides. Opposite President Trump's face was Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto's face. You have to think that Weld RE5J schools knew that the piñata had a second side when they put the Spanish teacher on leave. Students who were there tell us that it was meant as a joke, and then the teacher stepped in and tried to turn it into a teaching moment by adding the photo of the Mexican president and then talking about the testy relationship between the two men. The superintendent said that the piñata was disrespectful. Now, yes, it goes without saying, if this had happened with President Obama, it would have been a frothy nationwide story. Roosevelt High School reopens tomorrow with extra police in place. Is the A-line working today? Could the train to the plane keep up its recent hot streak? Sort of. There were some signal issues this morning. Few rides were canceled before the issues were resolved around 10:30. We should mention, too, RTD is going to shift all westbound trips on the A-line from the airport to leave 1 minute later, and all eastbound trips at the stations closest to the airport will be shifted 1 minute as well. They're trying to build some flexibility into the schedule on busy days. Those changes will start May 21st. And once again, as promised, when the A-line starts working, once RTD jumps through the hoops and gets final approval from the federal regulators, I will be there in something approximating that outfit. There ain't no party like an A. Next question comes from Mike and Anna out in Paonia. They write, could you please investigate why the state wants to raise marijuana taxes, but yet they are skipping over raising alcohol taxes? Marijuana users are not an ATM machine for politicians. We'll put the question now to Andrew Freeman, who helped set up Colorado's legalized marijuana system. Why not?
Well, the short answer is because the legislature doesn't have the ability to raise the alcohol tax. When we passed Proposition AA for marijuana, it specifically said that the legislature could raise taxes up to 15%. If we wanted to raise alcohol or tobacco taxes, that would be a vote of the people.
And we saw a tobacco tax just go down at the ballot. Tough proposition.
And it's always hard to pass a tax increase, but even tobacco, there was a lot of money that came in against it.
All right, Mike and Anna, there's your answer. We have promised here to call out bogus stories and deception. I had a hard time with that this weekend when I had that situation staring me in the face. A few thousand of you have had a conversation with me about it since on social media. I'm not sure I did the right thing, and I'm interested in your view today. To catch you up on this, if you missed it, I was at a brewery, as I do, and the guy on the next bar stool over, he was going on and on about how the Aurora theater shooting and other mass killings were government conspiracies staged with actors. So my first thought was that I should headbutt him, but violence doesn't cure stupidity, and I used my face for work. I also decided it was probably best not to publicly argue with him. But I wanted him to know that a majority of people in that brewery, in this state, in this world, people who sit there silently in the face of this garbage, do so out of contempt for those views and not acceptance. So I paid my tab, I asked the bartender for a sheet of paper, and wrote down the names of the people killed in Aurora. Real people, not actors. Brothers and daughters, fathers, friends. And I wrote that his idiocy attempts to defile their memory and fails. Handed him the note and left. Didn't stick around to see his reaction. Since then, I've been thanked by some people who got out of that theater that night, by the families of people who didn't make it out. Others have called me a coward. They're particularly fond of one word that the FCC will not allow me to say. But I would now like to hear from you. How would you have handled it if you were on the next bar stool over? Should I have done more? Was it wrong to post about it on social media? We try to bring you the answers whenever we feel that we have them, but tonight I just bring you those questions. Let me know what you think.
Families sit down for honest conversations about what makes a mother.
I love you too.
And I believe it was Miley Cyrus in Hannah Montana the movie who taught us it's always going to be an uphill battle, but it's the climb. Proof of that in big ways and small, as a Coloradan prepares to stand atop Everest, and goats stand atop Coloradans. It all makes sense. Next.
Severe thunderstorm watch remains in effect for Denver for 8 o'clock tonight, and we do see why. We've already had a round of rain and hail, wind, lightning, and now baseball fans disappointed as a rain delay for the Rockies game out there against the Cubs. Rain and hail covering the field right now. And as we look live over downtown Denver, we do have more showers moving up from the southwest. Storms that have had a history of producing large hail, damaging wind, and flooding. The recent round of storms now moving right into the downtown area, Centennial, extending out toward the Foxfield and Parker areas. A lot of lightning with these cells as well. But hail has really been our big story today. Hail coming through between 3 and 6 o'clock, 2 to almost 4 inches in diameter across the downtown area. And now flooding in Greeley. Flash flood warning out, 2 to 3 feet of water running through LaSalle, Greeley, and the Evans area. This heavy thunderstorm line pushes east, but we're not done yet. More thunder showers coming up from the southwest yet tonight. More rain in the forecast. The storms will linger until about midnight, then skies will clear, and after some areas of fog, we'll get a little bit of a break, only to do this once again tomorrow. All due in part to that storm system in the southwest. And so, Denver under that severe thunderstorm warning tonight. We do want you to be ready for more rain and hail tomorrow afternoon, Kyle.
Thanks, Kathy. Jim Davidson's an awful long way from home in Fort Collins. He is currently at Mount Everest Base Camp. He's waiting for the weather to clear for his push to the summit. We've been following his climb each week here. The last time that he was on Everest, 2 years ago, an earthquake hit that region, killing more than 20 climbers. He had to turn back. This time, all is well. We caught up with Jim this morning.
Yes, we're in base camp for about 3 to 6 days, watching the weather window, and we need a pretty good 5 or 6 days of weather. And we're still waiting for that window to clarify. It's a long, grinding process. You need a lot of patience. I mean, you got to have the tenacity and the resilience to push through no matter what the weather may throw at you or whatever obstacles may get in your path. There are definitely those down days, and that's when you really kind of have to look inside and remind yourself that it's a long journey. It's a lifelong dream, so it's not going to come easy, and you just kind of have to renew your dedication to doing what's necessary to try and reach that dream.
That shot right there. Whew, that shot. Eagle Crest High School science teacher Mike Haugen's also making progress on Everest. His group is fitting up their oxygen masks and doing some last-minute prep before going to the summit. Just got those pictures flipped around for you there. We'll keep you updated on both those men. The most Colorado thing we saw is goat yoga. It's apparently a thing now. It's kind of all over, but it seems like it could have come from Colorado, right? Our Kelly Jensen went up to a goat yoga class on Sunday in Fort Collins.
I feel like overall I've made pretty good decisions in life, but this was one of the best things I've ever chosen to do. Your first natural question is probably, why? That's why. Some things you should know if you ever want to attend a flow with farm animals. The yoga, it's really secondary to the goats. You'll get hay everywhere. There's not so much as there is. If a goat hops on your back in any pose, you're invited to stay there until the kid decides to hop off. The baby alpine goats are very sociable and have 0 personal space boundaries. They will eat your hair, your yoga mat, and probably your phone too. The pygmy goats can be a little shy at first. A good portion of the class was just 20 grown women and 1 dude in a circle giggling wildly on all fours as goats popped around on our backs. Basically, goat yoga is the most ridiculous hour you will ever spend in yoga pants, but it's totally worth it. And I went for no other reason than simply we can always use more laughter.
I love how Kelly starts. I feel like I've overall made good decisions in life. Kai Yoga, which offered that class, also has puppy and kitten yoga if goats are not your thing. So here's the deal. You and me, we're so close we finish each other's sentences. We started the sentence, I love you, Colorado, but. And let's take a look at another stack of how you completed the sentence. As we come up on Mother's Day, a chance to make Mom's story permanent. And I hope you find someone who looks at you the way Next #1 viewer looked at us when we surprised him. This video's been played about 90,000 times. If you've missed it, it's worth seeing next.
What makes a mother? The Denver Public Library is looking for the answer by recording conversations between mothers and their children, making memories permanent. The coordinator of the project wishes she had had more of a chance to do that herself.
To be a parent is a special thing to happen in your life.
What Makes a Mother is a film project. The interviews were really beautiful, really touching, really funny sometimes.
Thanks, Mom, for being a great host. No.
They came in and we had like a list of questions for them, and we asked them the questions, and then that was it. One of the moms and daughters that participated, afterwards she said to me, that was so nice to be able to sit down and take the time and spend that time with my daughter, because we just don't have time to do that kind of thing anymore.
She is silly and has a song for everything.
Gonna have the whole world on a plate.
We interviewed a mother and daughter, and it turned out the mother needs a living donor for a kidney.
It's particularly poignant to me right now because my mom is sick. She has kidney failure. Those stories are going to be something that we can watch later on, and I hope my mom's here for a really, really long time, but that's not a guarantee anymore.
I did lose my mom last year, but it was also really emotional for me because watching people be with their moms was hard for me. Because the anniversary of her death just came up while we were filming.
The best part was actually just sitting with my arm around her for 30 to 45 minutes.
Take the time to get stories from their mothers while they have the time to do it now.
Our Byron Reed was behind the lens for that story. The film will air a week from tomorrow, May 16th, 6 o'clock in the evening at the Ross Cherry Creek Branch Library. That event's free and open to the public. All right, I know what you did over the weekend. You watched the Next Anniversary surprise video. Hey, that thing did not get to 90,000 views on its own. Enough of you loved our attempt on Friday to surprise a viewer that we figured we'd show it to you here on the bigger screen. Richard, is the A-line working today?
Hey!
How are you? How are you? Thank you so much for coming down. So, your car's fine.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with your car.
Okay.
You guys have a big anniversary coming up on the 10th.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to hang out and watch Next tonight in studio?
Oh,
awesome.
Stickers! Oh, what a fantastic!
You're so welcome. It's going to be fun. The show's more fun when there's people around.
Oh, cool.
So,
way cool.
Yeah. Put away your tire stuff. We're going to go inside and get going on the show.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Oh, sneaky woman. She is a sneaky woman.
This is going to be good times. All right, let's head inside. Joy is contagious, and that man there, Richard, he is a carrier. Better for having met him. We are back with your Barstool Wisdom next. Your feedback now on how I handled that Aurora Theater shooting conspiracy theorist over the weekend. Christina says, mind your own conversation. Have another beer. Carol says, doesn't matter what you did. That guy won't care. Jerry says, this is why my kids and I watch Next. You use the perfect amount of respect. And Matt says, as someone who's been into conspiracies for many years, I can assure you your response was measured and reasonable. How about that? See you next time.